Okay, so this evening, thank you for joining us. This is our nightly 7:30 p.m. class. Join us every night. So this afternoon, just about an hour ago, I get a message on in a local rabbi shluchim WhatsApp chat that there's a girl stuck on the West Side Highway without any gas. And is anybody around to help her? So I'm personally not around. I WhatsApped a couple of people in a group. And a dear friend of mine responds. I hook him up with the rabbi on the West Side, and right away, this person, Shai, who's a wonderful and dear friend, goes and assists the girl and goes to help her. So there's a couple of lessons from this story which come to mind. You see, in this week's Torah portion, Torah starts, Beha'alotcha et hanerot, which means when you go up and light the candles. It was talking about Aharon HaKohen's duty to light up the candles, which is reflective of our duty to light up the world. So I got to tell you, what's the first thought that goes through your mind when you hear that there's somebody stuck without gas? What's the first thought that goes through your mind? I can tell you the first thought that went through my mind was, what a shlemazel, who gets stuck without gas in today's day and age? No gas. I mean, this is not a third world country. This is a country where it's America. You know, you don't get stuck without gas. That's the first thought that goes through my mind. And I got to tell you that a couple of months ago, I got stuck myself without gas on Lexington Avenue. And this is also it's in 2019. You see, by nature, when we look at other people, we only see their faults. When we look at ourselves, we only kind of find good things to say about ourselves, right? Imagine somebody else is double parked. You start screaming, how can you double park? But when you double park, you tell yourself, oh, it's only for a second. Like, what's the big deal, right? Somebody once asked me for a loan, Rabbi, I gave him $2,000 and he lost the check. And I'm like, shlemazel, how do you lose the check? So I wrote him a new one, canceled the old one, whatever. And then a few weeks later, I got a check for $10,000. I lost it. So I rationalized to myself, oh, what's the big deal? Let the guy just cancel it. You see, by nature, when we have a fault, we love ourselves so much that we are mechaper ala averot. We, so to speak, we cover over. We love ourselves so much that we don't see our faults. But when the very same thing happens to somebody else, we criticize, we point out the error. So the first thing that went through my mind was, oh, what a shlemazel. But then I thought, hold on, I did the same thing. Love a fellow Jew. When you help somebody else, lesson number one from the story is love a fellow Jew like you love yourself means don't criticize, don't blame, don't point out the faults. That's the first thing that came to mind. Second thing is like this. When I got that message right away, I'm like, oh, should I help out? Should I start calling and texting? Should I? Shouldn't I? It's, when you do a mitzvah, when you do a mitzvah and when you do a sin, both of them have an oy and an ah. The difference is in the timing. When you do a mitzvah, while you're doing the mitzvah, it's so hard. Oi, it's so hard, it's tough. But when you finish doing the mitzvah, it's, what a pleasure. When you do the sin, in the middle of the act of the sin, it's, what a pleasure. But when you finish doing the sin, it's, oi, what did I do? So this friend of mine, Shai, while he's going down, it's hard, it's tough. While I'm texting or whatever, it's a little frustrating. But when you finished, what a pleasure in helping somebody else. You see, when the candle is lit, the Torah said, Beha'alotcha et hanerot, candle's always flickering. Candle's always flickering because it wants to go up, but it's down. It's grounded. It's grounded and it's up. It wants to go up to its source, but it's grounded. That's like the soul. The soul of a Jew always wants to go up, but it has to stay in the body. Go up, wants to stay in the body. The same idea with the mitzvah. When you do a mitzvah, you kind of want to go up and help, but it's sometimes difficult. So Beha'alotcha et hanerot, light the candles. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, you have to hesitate, but you do the mitzvah. And the other third and final lesson from this mitzvah is Beha'alotcha et hanerot. You see, the beautiful thing of candles is when you give to somebody else, you will never lose out. When you give light to somebody else, when you ignite the candle in somebody else, note that the candle never diminishes. You give, but you don't lose yourself. You see, in life, we think that when we give, we lose. We don't. When you do a mitzvah to somebody else, when this man Shai did a mitzvah tonight, he went and helped a young girl. He went to the gas station, he filled up gas for her, went there afterwards, filled it up with her, and he didn't lose out. You may think that he lost an hour or half an hour of his time, but he didn't lose out. That's the message of the candles. Same thing with charity. When you give $100, you do not lose it. Actually, you made $1,000 because the Torah will give you 10 times the amount. But any mitzvah that takes time and effort, anything that you do, the message from this week's parsha of the candles is that you will never lose out. And just as an example, I had no material for my class tonight, but by helping others and instigating this whole thing, I have a whole class prepared right over here. So there's three messages again. Message number one. What was the first thing that went through my mind? Oh, what a shlemazel. Who drives without gas? When the same thing happened to me. You see, when you love yourself, you don't worry about your faults. That is the way you need to love another person. Don't look at their faults. Number two, we sometimes hesitate to help others, even though it's such a pleasure. But that's the idea of the candle, is kind of like this friction all the time. And number three, when you give, you will never lose out, just like a candle. That is the 10-minute class for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed it. And we are here every single night for 10 minutes. Toda rabba, Laila Tov.